I didn't order the
No. We're cutting that out. We're cutting that out. All right.
Cheers. You might, if you're watching this, you might notice we've got a cup of tea today.
There are 4 beers in the middle of the table, and neither of us want to break cover first.
Ralf had a couple of drinks last night,
and so did Will.
Well, I was celebrating the fact it was Wednesday.
It was Wednesday, and I don't think that gets celebrated enough.
Have you seen that clip on social media of that football fan? It's quite camp going, "Come on, Wednesday!" Is that a Sheffield Wednesday match?
And is that what you were shouting every time you had a beer?
Well, that popped up on my social feed in the morning, and I was like, "Yes, come on, Wednesday,
Yes.
I'll have a beer."
Yes.
No, there was a few football matches on last night, and any excuse. So I thought I'll nip to the pub and watched a bit of the Liverpool-Chelsea game.
Yeah.
My mate's a Liverpool fan, and the Chelsea fans are in the pub, so there's always a bit of banter going on. So yeah, it wasn't a late one, but I had a couple sociable ones.
Well, you say, any excuse. I mean, here we are doing the 2 Pints podcast, and it's traditional we have a beer. So why don't you make a start?
Hang on. Why don't you make a start?
I'm not touching it.
Get it down, you son.
Mate, honestly.
The dog.
How long ago did we start? It's been a couple of years we've done this now. When we started, we're like, it'd be great. We'll sit down. We'll have a beer, everything. It'd be like having a beer with your mates. Just fast forward, what is it, 3 years? And you're like,
Let's have a cup of tea.
Oh, that'd be fine. Plus, no beer sponsor. So
yeah, do you know what? That's what we should do. We should hold them to ransom.
Yeah.
We're not having a beer until we get a beer sponsor.
Yeah.
Right? Shame on you.
Speaking of which, I was going to ask you about continuing sort of fallout or ripple effects from Mr. Bates.
Yeah.
How was, we've not talked about it for
Yeah,
a week or
loads
so.
of- I mean,
Still
it's-
people, I hear still people talking about it now.
There's
It's had
stuff
such a
coming
huge
out.
effect.
There's stuff coming out all the time. I think there's been stuff in the press about the real Alan Bates, how he turned down a knighthood.
Yeah.
Because he said no. And I totally get it. It's like, listen, forget that. Let's just get this compensation. So, and I think they got like a sixth of what they wanted to get compensation-wise. A sixth. I think they got 20,000 quid each.
Yeah.
And now, yeah, I mean, there's loads going on. I was at the Radio Times Covers Awards. We had a special award for Mr. Bates versus the Post Office. So I was there with some of the other cast members and the director and producers and whatnot, and people from Little Gem, the production company. And everybody was there. It was like at Claridge's. It was like a big event. I went with my wife, Michelle.
Yeah, I wasn't invited.
No, you weren't. You weren't. I was going to remind you of that. I met a friend of yours outside, and I said, "Is Ralf not here?" He went, "No." I went, "Oh, make sure you tell him I am."
Yeah, if you recall, you sent me a photo, so thanks for that.
I think you were doing the One Show at the time.
Yes, I was. I actually, technically, full disclosure, right? You sent me that picture. I'm like, oh, nice one. Will's at the party, the Radio Times party at Claridge's. That must be nice. And I was like, hold on a second. Why am I not there? I wasn't invited. And then I checked through my emails, and I had been invited, and
you sacked it off.
No, I just forgot about it.
Right, okay.
But it's because I was doing the One Show, and so I just didn't.
Well, it's a Radio Times covers a party, so which means is everyone who's been on the cover, they go on stage and they say, "Oh, that's like the people from Doctor Who and Louis Theroux, and they're all there." It's not my scene. I must admit, I have the biggest sort of.
Where are you going with this?
Imposter syndrome.
Oh, right, okay.
When I go into a place like that, I just think, I just feel uncomfortable.
There you go. That's something to talk about.
Well, but it's true.
No, I mean it. It's like a lot of people have imposter syndrome, especially in our game.
I found a seat in the corner and sat there with Michelle and just watched people. And obviously, I spoke to whoever spoke to me, but I just sort of feel, what do I talk about? You know what I mean? I don't really like talking too much about the industry and my jobs, But anyway, it was a really nice evening. And we went on stage and, we got this special award of basically, it's a plaque with on the front cover of the Radio Times with the Mr. Bates versus the Post Office. So it's hopefully, it's the first of many things it's nominated for. But the fallout's been amazing, still positive.
Yeah.
I did an interview afterwards. Well, at the time, they had this camera set up and they interviewed me and Monica, who played Jo. And they said, anything you got to say? And I was like, yeah, stop kicking the can down the road and get these people paid. And you got to remember, the compensation we're talking about isn't the money they took off them, because that was their money.
In the first place, that's not compensation.
You stole
You're
that
just
off
making them
them.
whole again.
Yeah,
You've got to
give
actually
them-
pay them.
Give them that back.
Correct, yeah.
Then think of your compensation.
I was
you owe.
actually, funnily enough, I was speaking to Monica Dolan, I think, on Monday.
Right.
And in Manchester at Rev de Cuba, where your 40th
I had
birthday
my 40th
was.
there,
I was there.
downstairs, yeah.
And we had a conversation about going, you know what we should do one day, a podcast. And it only took us, how old are you now? 48?
47. 48,
It only
3
took
months.
us, 5 more years to get it done. But I was talking to Monica, and I think she said something to me about how her character... she said something like, I might get the numbers wrong, but they said that she owed 39,000 and she didn't, and the compensation was 37, and that's not even compensation. It didn't even.
Match
it
what
wasn't
they'd
even.
taken.
Yeah, there was no kind of. It didn't even make a whole from what they'd already taken off her.
The worst, the funniest thing, well, not the funniest, but the thing that doesn't make any sense is the amount of hundreds of millions they've spent defending themselves. Rather
Yeah.
than just going, hang on, we made a mistake here. Yes, there is a problem with the system. Right early on, let's give them their money back, and here's some compensation.
Yeah.
So all that money they've spent defending themselves, they could have just dealt with a long time. And now look what they look like.
Yeah, I know.
They spent all that money, and they're so worse off. Their name is tarnished forever.
Well, it's. I had a similar thought about the whole phone hacking thing, and we should probably leave that. Do you know what? Do you know what I'm going to do? In front of a future podcast, I'm going to speak to the lawyers, our lawyers that we both used when the whole phone hacking thing happened, and I'm going to get a really clear brief from them of exactly what we can and can't say, legally speaking, because I really think that we should try and talk about it as much, because there's a big story there.
Yeah.
And if we can talk about it, legally speaking,
we'll make a drama about it.
Yeah, we'll
I'll
make
be-
a drama
we'll be in
about
it.
it. Yeah, and be in it. Hold on, ideas are flowing.
I tell you, this is one thing I want to say. At the awards the other night, Harry was there from the Traitors, right? The Traitors, because this was the Traitors. Did you watch the Traitors?
Are you about to talk to me about the new series?
Don't tell me you've not seen it.
Don't you talk to me about the new series?
Ralf!
No. I've been waiting.
We've got a whole section about it.
I've been waiting for it all to come out so that I can watch it in one evening. The first series of the Traitors. I don't watch any reality
Ralf,
telly, right? I don't
we
watch
have to talk about the
I don't
Traitors.
watch any reality telly. And that first series, all the lads on the football group were going, "You got to watch the Traitors." I was like, "I'm not going to." I was like, "All right." About 9 p.m. I started watching it. And I watched it at 6 a.m. I finished the thing
my
last
Lord.
year. I was just binged the entire thing in
So
one
we
evening.
can't talk about the Traitors.
Well, you can. Just don't give me any spoilers. Just don't name names.
All
Don't
right,
name
there's
names.
a person that's. I can't. It's so hard.
Well, you've said Harry now. You
Oh,
fucked it.
I haven't told you what happened.
Don't tell me who
I'll tell you-
wins.
I'm
I just
not
don't want
gonna
to know
tell
who
you
wins.
Well,
Talk about last year. Do you remember Wilf?
No.
They stitched him right up.
Well, there's a guy in it called Harry, and the reason why I want to mention him, there was other people from the Traitors there, so I'm not telling you who's one in case you haven't watched it, like Ralph. And he was like, I wanted to say hello because I saw you was on the stage, and I was like, hello, mate. Because we've been watching it just the night before. Me and my daughter and Michelle, we've sort of binge watched the last 3 episodes.
Yeah.
And he was like, I came round to your house when I was 10.
Whoa.
He's good. Oh, calm down. He's good mates with my next door neighbour
Right.
and their sons. And I knew this because when the show was announced and they showed the cast, I spoke to my next door neighbour and he went, Harry is Donald, his son's good friend, and he lives in the area.
Right.
So and then when I saw him the other night, he was like, yeah, I'll never forget. I came round to your house and I was like 10 with Donald and we was in the garden with your son and all that we played. And I was like, yeah, we've been watching you on TV every night. And it's suddenly, these people are in Traitors. It's like anything, if you go into television from nowhere, reality TV or anything like that, you're suddenly thrust into the limelight from nowhere into the deep end. And honestly, he was mobbed. And I was like, he was just a normal kid. He's in the army, does a bit of boxing, great lad. And they were all, you're talking about all the stars of Doctor Who were there, Louis Theroux, like I said, people, old school people and new talent, all that everywhere. And all the people wanted to be was near the Traitors. Because it's hot now.
Yeah, exactly.
And all I was saying to him was, mate, just protect yourself, look after yourself. Because he was like, mate, it's mad. Everyone just wants to talk
Do you know
to
what? I've had thought about that a lot over the years, which is when you're a footballer, when you're Phil Foden and you come through at Man City, right? And suddenly you arrive on the scene and you score and you explode into everybody's consciousness. in football, those young lads, there's obviously the manager, but they'll get people sort of saying, okay, you're about to get a lot of money, right? You're an adult, you can do what you want, but can I suggest this is important, this is important, this is how people are going to treat you. This is what life is going to be like when you walk around. This is what it's going to be like talking to girls when you're out. Everything's going to change in a way that you can barely possibly comprehend. And very few people have ever experienced, because that sort of notoriety, and people recognize it. There's not many people throughout human history that have, statistically speaking, that have actually experienced that. Now, to a much lesser level, you and I have. I mean, we've never exploded onto the Man City like Phil Foden.
Yeah.
But it's interesting. They have that in football. But I've thought time and time again, I wish, whether it had been my agent at the time, or maybe somebody should set up a company to sort of go, oh, you've just been cast in a major soap. You've just been cast in Corrie as a huge major character. We should have a conversation about how your life is going to change. And you're going to have a lot of fun. It's going to change for the better in many ways. But there's some things to deal with. There's some social situations to deal with. There's a lot of stuff you should know. Yeah. And no one ever told me that. And I bet they never told you that. No. They just go, cool, so this is a crack on. Yeah. And I look back at some of the mistakes that I made, whether it was financially or who I became friends with, who I allowed into my sort of circle of people. Yeah. Pete, our producer, became my friend then, and it's been a disaster ever since. But no one ever tells you that.
I think
you're talking about Harry. Like, somebody's not took him aside and gone, you need to know.
They were all there. There was about 4 of them, and like I said, their life now is changed. And what I find hard as well, I don't find it hard. I just think, I don't know how you manage it. Is like the people that go on Love Island. They go on and they go bang, and they're then famous. But it's like, but
uber famous as well.
Yeah, but you're famous for probably 6 to 8 months till the next cast come along.
Yeah.
Imagine the crash from that.
Yeah, what then? Yeah.
And also you go and then to carry that on, you haven't got a job because you're famous. Being famous isn't a job.
Yeah.
You can't you can't go and get a job as being famous.
Yeah.
And it's not something you should ever try and chase because you don't own it. You can't control it. It's not yours. And it's only in the eye of the beholder. You might be famous to somebody who's seen the programme, but someone who hasn't seen the programme, you're not famous. So I don't understand people who walk around thinking the shit don't stink, basically.
I always thought fame as a goal in itself is a very dangerous and fickle
because you
thing,
can't maintain it.
Like, fame as a byproduct of like success and whether it's whether it's football,
but it's
or
like
singing
a drug
or whatever,
as well. You get a taste for it.
So when I turned up in London when I was 19 in the Royal Family, and it was the biggest show on TV at the time, it was like, this is unbelievable.
But it's hard to keep your head.
Yeah, it's so hard to keep your head. And this is what I'm saying. No one sits you down and goes, let's talk about what this is, what it means, and how you live with it.
That's why I was saying about the Love Island lot or people like that, and any kind of reality show where you've not been media trained, anything like that, and you put in, it's a dangerous situation to be in because it is only a short window of time that you have. And then the come down from it, you'll end up back at the same place you started, but you'll feel lower than where you were before.
Yeah.
Because normality is gone.
Yeah.
So I think there needs to be, whether there is something put in place, I don't know whether there is, but I just watch these people and I just think...
Chewed up and spat out.
Yeah, and also I think people are chasing that now with social media. I saw a clip on a plane of this horrendous woman who kicked off on the plane and she was being thrown off the plane. And he was like, oh, get off the plane. And she went, oh, fuck you. Do you know who I am? I'm Twitter famous or I'm TikTok famous. She said, I was like, what is that? I'm Instagram famous.
Mate, listen, you're the one with kids, right? Apparently kids now, when they're growing up and they say, the most common answer for what do you want to be when you grow up is an influencer, social media influencer.
It's mad,
It used to be an astronaut or a footballer or a fireman. Now it's a social media influencer.
But I just think it's dangerous. And I see these people who, on social media, and listen, if I sound like a middle-aged man, it's because I am, right?
Wait, I became really aware that we both sound so old right now. Okay, care. Boomer.
I don't give a shit. Listen, I see these girls, right? Nothing wrong with them at all. And all they do is make themselves look thinner, filter themselves, put everything on their face on an app, right? And then post that out for people to look at and then don't like it when people say something negative. If you put yourself out there, right, you're going to look at 1,000 messages that will say how great you look, but you'll only remember the one that's bad.
Always. You'll scroll through all the nice ones.
And
it's
also,
like reviews.
I think you're setting yourself up for a fall, because if you go out in the street, you don't look like that. So you're never going to be as good as the person you're putting out there.
So do you
Just
worry
be happy
about
with
that
who you are and try and find happiness?
With Renee in particular, your
No,
daughter,
I don't.
is it something that you consider? Or
I don't worry about it for my daughter, because I really think we've brought a balanced young girl up right, and let her know how beautiful she is, and we tell her the truth about things, and be honest about. You know, I speak openly about this sort of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You don't need to do that.
Yeah.
You're beautiful as you are.
Yeah.
You know, and if you're happy in your own skin, in your own body, you'll be happy in life. And I think there's too many people now who try to look like each other. Be happy with yourself. You know, you having surgery done at like 16, 17, 18 years old.
Botox at like...
And some of it unreversible.
27,
Having the lips done massive.
Yeah.
When did it become fashionable to look like a blow-up doll?
Now, I am going to say at this point, if anyone's listening to this going, who are these two men to be telling, we have said women here, who are these two men to be telling women what they should and shouldn't look like? We're not. It's your body. You do what you want.
Yeah, I'm just saying,
but
be happy in your own skin. If that makes you happy, great.
Yeah, there is something to be said for just going, you know,
You're beautiful
self-acceptance and just go, well, this is who I am. And sometimes you might want to, you know, we come on here and brush our hair. You put black spray paint on the back of your head because you don't want people to see that you've got a sunroof.
That's true, yeah.
Yeah, so, you know, it's a complicated thing, but yes,
I want to encourage people.
Self-appreciation and self-care is never a bad thing.
And yeah, like I said, I probably don't understand young people nowadays, because I'm not a young person, but I see it and I worry for them, because I just think, don't put yourself into a certain place that you can't match in real life, because you'll never catch yourself. You're always going to be that Instagram person that isn't really you. You're putting out into the world.
Which sort of feeds back into what we were saying at the start of this, when you were saying it's not about necessarily physical appearance, but it's that you're always chasing something. You were saying from a mental health point of view, it's like I'm never satisfied. I'm always chasing something. Yeah. If you're always trying to chase perfection in so many walks of life, but particularly in like, look, we're gonna age. I don't care who you are. Exactly. Everybody ages, and if you spend your whole life desperately chasing it to a point, I'm not talking about looking after yourself and self-care, but if you're always trying to find perfection, you are never going to attain it. There's a real crash from that, like over and over again.
And I just think it's really important that we let these young people know, listen, be happy comfortable in your own skin. And it's easier said than done. I don't know everyone's surroundings and backgrounds and all that sort of stuff, but if there's a parent out there, make sure you tell your kids they're beautiful as they are. You know what I mean? You don't have to, you know.
Out of nowhere, something sailed into my head, which it's just made me laugh, which is, do you remember ages ago when we were on the Have a Word podcast with the lads? Yeah. And we read out like there were some reviews of their podcast and our podcast, and they were like both sets of reviews were like 5-star, 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 but the funniest ones were the ones that didn't like it. Do you remember we had one, and it was after you talked so movingly about your dad passing away, and some review was like, little bit too much mental health bollocks for my liking. Tell more jokes. And I'm thinking, I hope they don't listen to this one. We'll be fucked.
Yeah, well, listen, we don't plan a lot of what sometimes, like I said...
You'd never think it.
We just talk. I mean, yes, we have things we want to talk about, but sometimes things just prop up and you I mean, and just because we talk about the Traitors, and I was thinking about the fame that they're going to get now. Yeah. And I just worry for them in them, you know, the mental state of, man, I could walk down the street and no one knows me. Now everyone knows me. That must be crazy. I mean, gradually it's happened for me and you over the years because we've been working for a long time. But they were just gone thrown right in the deep end.
Well, and also what next? Like when we started our careers, what we were hoping for was a career, and there's at least a way of going, well, I hope I can sustain this, or I hope I can move on. But once you've started, you've been in the Traitors, it's like, well, now what? And of course there are ways, and of course some people go on to have successful presenting careers. And actually, funnily enough, social media, if you can get a big sort of start, you know, you can, wow, suddenly I've got 1 million followers. People make careers out of that.
Of course.
It's not that that's not possible, but it ain't going to happen for everyone. And like, where's the care? Where's the care for people who are going to have that massive crash?
Yeah. And I was speaking to him and he was like, Gary Neville, he was on a chat show, or he was doing something. Harry was on one, and then some of the Traitors were on one. And he bumped into Gary Neville, and Gary Neville went, my daughter was a big fan of the Traitors. Can we have a picture? And he went, can I have a picture with you? Just like Gary Neville. And then he was like, listen, make sure you look after yourselves, get protected. He said, I'll put you onto my lawyer. I'll make sure I pay all the fees for you just to make sure no one rips you off. Really? How nice is that?
Gary Neville's a legend.
But that's what I'm saying. That's what we need to do. Look out for each other, man, because I think he probably feels the same. As soon as his food, the pigeons will come, and then when it's gone, they'll fly away and leave you on your own. It's like, you know what I mean? The wolves are coming, so you just got to make sure you navigate the path right. So what are you laughing at? Pigeons and wolves.
I just enjoyed you really mixing those metaphors and getting them really quite mangled. It's like, there's food, right?
There's food.
There's food.
The pigeons.
The pigeons will arrive.
There's no food.
But there's some wolves will pop through a door. And then there might be a bear eating honey in the corner. It's like, wow, thanks.
I laughed at it. Is it when the wolves were at the door? I can't remember.
I mean, you could have said vultures instead of pigeons, which might have made more sense. Yeah. But, fine.
Flying rats.
Basically, don't feed the pigeons is the gist of this entire thing.
I mean, you used to be able to feed pigeons in Trafalgar Square and they stopped it.
Yeah.
I used to love going there.
Tuppence a bag.
Throwing food on people's hoods at the back of their necks. You ever do that? Just watch them get attacked by pigeons. No, it was great fun.
I did not ever do that.
Why?
Because I'm not
watching people screaming running down the street with pigeons in their hair.
Because I'm not a fucking liability.
They used to be able to give you...
Because I'm not a hooligan. That's why.
I was a northerner in London.
So was I, but I wasn't a hooligan.
I had a bag of food and all the people who walked past and I just dropped food into their hood and watched them walk as pigeons attack them. It was the funniest thing. And do you know what the one thing I'm gutted about? I never had a mobile phone to record it because that would have been great.
Oh, mate, that's like 8 million views right there.
I'd have been TikTok famous.
Actually, maybe we should do an episode from Trafalgar Square.
They don't do it anymore.
I know, but I'll take some food with me.
Pigeons have gone.
Pigeons have all gone, yeah, no food left.
They got rid of them. I think they have. Do they fly hawks or something now to keep the pigeons away?
I don't know. How about we go to like a seaside town? I'll try it with a seagull. Just put a chip on the top of your balls.
I used to do that. I used to do it.
Of course you did.
Caravan sites, we used to do it because we used to go on caravan holidays when we were younger. And then on the way home from the pub, you'd have a bag of chips. Always have a bag of chips, fish and chips on the way home from the pub. And you'd throw chips onto the caravan roofs because all the seagulls would come down and eat them. But if you're ever in a caravan, anything on that roof, it's like that. So everyone's asleep going, what? Seagulls just descending on people, just keeping people awake. And I'd lie in bed at night, chuckling away to myself, knowing I was keeping other campers awake.
When I was in Guadeloupe a couple of years ago, so at night you shut the metal shutters, in case there's a big storm or whatever. And one night I was woken up because Freddy Krueger was scraping his knife hands down the town. I was like, oh, and I didn't dare go. I was like, what is it? And eventually I sort of crept out with a torch and whatever. And there was a hermit crab about that big. And it was just creeping really slowly down the metal shutter. And I thought I was going to be killed in my bed.
Hey, do you know what I remember last week we talked about, the last episode, I talked about me getting propositioned in a hotel by the man.
Yeah, I remember it well.
Offering me a blowjob, right? Well, I told my neighbour listening, because I mentioned my neighbour in that podcast about, I was talking about how we spoke about something and I said he was really good and he Googled felching. You remember we spoke about that? So, and I was like, don't Google it.
Can I just, can we try and get through the rest of the series without using that word again? Right. I feel like it's popped up every episode.
It's in reference.
We're basically the Felching brothers at this point.
Wait, Lee, don't ever say that again. Can you do it to each other? You can't do it at the same time.
I don't know. I don't want to think about it. Why are we asking this question? There you go. There's the social media clip for this episode. We're basically the Felching brothers. And I've said it twice.
No, it's a reference. Anyway, so I was with him last night. We were talking, and I said, "Oh, yeah, I mentioned you on that." And he said, "No, I heard it." And he said, "I said, did you hear about that bloke proposition? In the hotel?" He said, "Has that never happened to you before?" I went, "No." He went, "Oh." I was like, "What do you mean?" Oh,
is this a thing? Is this a thing?
Apparently, it is a thing.
Really?
Apparently, he said, "Oh, it's happened to me." I went, "What?" He said, "It was a woman, though." He said, "Yeah." He said, "Apparently, in hotels, a lot of hotels, the women knock on the door,
or men,
ladies of the night, or men of the evening, after they've been doing their bit, the concierge sort of let them in and they pay them, and they go on knocking on hotel room doors, seeing if they want."
It's a sex worker thing.
Yeah. Mine wasn't. It was just a pissed up bloke who wanted to suck me off. That's very different. This was... Mine wasn't, no.
I don't know why. It's just the northernness of that really tickled me. It was just a pissed up bloke who wanted to suck me off.
It's true, though. And I was thinking, I wonder if whatever hotel you're in, whether you get a better quality
Well, depending on how much you've had to pay the concierge, like how much money you're making.
Exactly.
Right,
so if you're in the travel lodge,
what did you...
hey, do you want any company? It's all right. Do you want some toothpaste, love?
Yeah. Or do you want to put your teeth back in?
Yeah.
Wow. So you were at Claridge's the other night. Let's not get into it. I don't want to fall out with Claridge's.
No, and I was with my wife.
And how much did you pay?
You don't have to pay for that.
Right, okay.
I've been still paying for it now. That's what marriage is, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Haven't you been paying for it for
One big
20 odd
bill.
years?
Oh, talking about bills.
Oh, yeah.
Right. This is a conversation I had. I was just finished Coronation Street. It was my last day, and we were sat in the green room. And someone said about Saltburn, and I was like, Saltburn the film. They went, oh no, sorry, I said Salt Bay restaurant.
Yeah, Mr. with his salt on his steak. Yeah.
If anybody knows what Salt Bay is, or don't know, do you know what the Salt Bay is? It's a restaurant.
I know, yeah. And then there's Mr. Salt Bay, isn't there? Who sprinkles salt like a bell
and it's a restaurant that sells food like any other restaurant. Might be better quality, might not be, whatever. Have you seen how much he charges? Yeah. Now, listen, I've come prepared.
Oh, hello. Okay.
I took a picture of a bill from this restaurant. £61,565.
For dinner? Did they buy the restaurant?
Yeah, no, yeah. Let me just tell you now. So
wait, was this a meal that you had?
Are you out of your mind?
I was going to say, wow.
Sparkling water, £270. That was for 6 sparkling waters. French fries, £180.
My God. Have you seen the guy as well, though? He's sort of he's got in for somehow. He's got in with like a load of like social media, like influencers and footballers, whatever. He was. There's some photo or some footage of Messi celebrating with the World Cup. It may even have been in the Argentina dressing room, and Salt Bay's kicking around there, having pictures with Messi.
But I'm saying this beef carpaccio won £1,200.
No.
It's not even cooked. It's just chopped beef with some bit of lime juice. Now, listen, if he wants to charge these prices, good for him. How the fuck is anybody coming in that restaurant? I want to stand outside and slap everybody and just go, come here.
Stop it. Yeah.
What have you done, dickhead? Yeah. You've just spent 20 grand on food.
Yeah.
That's an expensive shit the next morning. I mean, that's all it is. It's food.
The most expensive shit in history.
You'd have to have gold toilet roll to wipe your ass.
Do you know what, right?
What are they doing? Who's spending that money?
There's another thought to that. And again, sorry to Mr.
65
sorry
grand.
to Mr. Like, I prefer it when there's more jokes and not a lot of mental health chat. Sorry to Mr. Hates anything serious. But there is another part to that as well, which is... It's kind of disgusting, actually. If you've got 61, look, spend your money how you want, but if you've got 61 grand to drop on a steak and beer meal, do you know what?
Bollocks.
You could house somebody who's homeless there. Do you know what I mean? You could pay. That's a deposit for.
The worst thing for me, Ralf. I totally
imagine what you could do.
This is what annoys me, and listen, that's not just one bill. If you go and Google Salt Bay bills, right, you'll see 21,000, 30,000, and you know what pisses me off even more? People go so they can take a picture of their bill and show it on social media and go, look how much I've spent. Yeah. You dickhead.
Well, that's what it is. I was reading an article years ago, a psychologist was talking about, extreme wealth. And when you're talking about like 200 million, 300 billion, plus, like extreme wealth. Not, wow, you're doing really well, but extreme wealth where you've got so much money you could never spend it, whatever. I think because I used to think, like, what do they spend their money on? You can't spend it. There's nothing you can't buy.
Salt Bay.
But even that's not going to touch the sides of a billion quid.
Seriously.
But what do you spend it on? And it was the article was really interesting because it was saying that the default setting for people, whatever level of wealth they are, is hierarchy within their peer group. So if you're friends with a load of other billionaires, it's not enough to have the Rolex you always wanted, because if one of your mates has a £500,000 watch, you have to have a 750 grand watch. Right, yeah. If one of your mates has an 80-room super yacht, you have to have a 90-room super yacht. Yeah. But it's really interesting because we do that at all levels of wealth in all levels of society. You want to sort of have the slightly nicer top than your mate. Like, even if both of you...
I don't give a shit.
I know.
I really don't give a shit.
Listen, you've seen the way we dress. We
no, but it's not. I'm just saying I'm not in competition with anybody else. Yeah. I just can't justify... Whether it's because of where I'm from, and my background, I don't know. I just don't get this. Let's all show off how much we've got.
I know.
Life. I just think, who cares, man? You know what I mean? There's people out there who've got now. And listen, if you work out for money, great. If you make money, great. I just don't. It just doesn't sit well with me looking at that and just going, it's just food. That's what it, and that is ridiculous that you're going to charge.
All
and
right.
imagine setting up that restaurant, right? I'm going to get a restaurant. Steak restaurant. I think you have to pay $1,000 for him just to come and put some salt on, and he just cocks his wrist like that.
He cocks his wrist like that. It looks like he's doing a shadow puppet. It's the weirdest thing.
And you have to pay a lot more for that. But good luck to him because
it's not his fault.
No,
I don't blame him at all.
Exactly.
He's gone. Do you know what? It's like a Darren Brown trick on the entire like uber rich world. He's like, I'm just going to charge everyone. And everyone's going to think it's special and it's steak and chips. And actually, part of me is like, fair play to the guy.
Do you know what? I'll tell you the other thing, because I do go out and spend big money on food sometimes, but it's usually a special occasion, but it'll be like food with a show, entertainment.
Yeah.
You understand what
You'll
you're
sing
paying
Mustang
for.
Sally.
At the end of the night, I'll get up and do a song. But no, it's, there's a place called the London Cabaret Club, and I go there quite a bit with my missus, and you have dinner. It's like 3 or 5 courses, but you have a full-on show. Mm-hmm. Great performers, singers, acrobats, all sorts, and there's a thing at the end. And you think, well, I'm not just paying for the food here, I'm paying for the entertainment. So you sort of understand what you're paying for. That is just a restaurant. Yeah. You're just eating food.
Yeah.
Have you? What's the?
What, gone to Salt Bay?
No. What's sort of the most extravagant restaurant you've been to?
I went to. Do you remember when? Heston Blumenthal, the chef, sort of first became famous. It was when we were doing 2 Pints years
Isn't
and years
he the one
ago.
who said he wanted to put snails in?
He did. It's snail porridge.
In a Little Chef on the motorway.
Oh no! He did the Little Chef in Popham. It wasn't. It might. I can't remember.
I thought it was on a motorway. Someone pulling over.
It was a Little Chef. No, it was a Little Chef near Popham.
He wanted to put snails in it.
I went there. I went to the Little Chef when it was still his. Food was delicious. Beef cheeks and mashed potato, like absolutely delicious.
So you went to Heston's?
So I went to the Fat Duck, which at the time was
not far from me.
Yeah, that's right, Bray. Yeah, which at the time was the #1 restaurant in the world.
It's just a pub, isn't it?
Yeah, well, he's got a pub and he's got whatever. Look, the food was absolutely delicious, but it was more about. I honestly can't remember. I went for my birthday. I genuinely can't remember, but like more than I could afford, right? But I went for my birthday. It was
more
like
than £500.
Yeah, probably
for 2 of you.
4 of us.
Oh, that's not bad.
It was
£100 a head for the top.
It was a tasting menu and blah blah blah. But what was the point is to your point about going? It's just a restaurant and it's steak and chips, right? This was like, I've had meals that I've sort of quote unquote enjoyed more, where I've had a first bite of something and gone, this is delicious. I have to eat the whole plate. But what that was like, it was a birthday special occasion, like you going to the London Cabaret Club, and it's like, when are you ever going to sit down and drink like and have like a meringue that's been made with liquid nitrogen, and then snail porridge where you go, this is going to be awful. Oh, actually, it's quite nice, and ham and egg flavored ice cream. The experience of it was unbelievable. Right. But that's like a once in a lifetime thing.
Of course, that's what
You're
I'm
not going
saying.
to Salt Bay going, I'll have steak and chips, please. Oh, this one's a little bit overcooked. Can you knock $2,000 off the price?
Exactly. Beef carpaccio, £1,200.
Yeah, this is definitely undercooked.
There's food there that's like 10 grand.
Yeah,
it's like, come on, man.
It's just gross.
There's that restaurant as well, isn't there? The one where all the staff are blind.
Oh, yeah, in the dark.
It's completely dark, and apparently, if you've got a watch that glows up, you're not even allowed to wear that, right? I don't know how I'd feel. We went out for dinner with a couple of friends of ours, and they went, and she loved it. He hated it. Mm-hmm. And I don't know how I'd feel, because you eat with your eyes a little bit, don't you? Do you know when...
I feel like you might be doing it wrong. Do we need to talk? No wonder you were wearing those sunglasses. No wonder you needed laser surgery. You keep smashing a fork into your peepers.
Do you remember Airplane? The film when he just kept throwing a drink in his eye.
I have a drinking problem. That's you.
Yeah, no. Yeah, well, you know what I'm saying? It's like you have to see your food.
The anticipation and all that.
And I said to Michelle, I don't know why, but I think I'd have the urge to get my knob out or something.
Well,
do you know what I mean?
Do I tell you that? Oh.
What? Don't tell me.
It wasn't me.
Hang on, what have you done?
Why was it not me? I've never been, right? But back in the day, one of my mates.
It was you, wasn't it?
I promise you it wasn't me. I'd own it if it was me.
Go on.
I don't know. It's a difficult one. Have you got those mates where you're just a bit like, they're sort of quite quiet, and like if me or you said something quite outrageous, you'd be like, oh, what are the lads like? That's what they're like. Yeah. But he's sort of quite quiet and he didn't really sort of say, and he wasn't like that adventurous, and he didn't have a lot of confidence when he was chatting up girls and whatever. And he, a sort of a group of friends went, and him and this, like two sort of groups of friends went together. And it was this beautiful girl who I didn't even think he fancied. But anyway, long and short of it, he was sat next to her. The lights went off. He had a little dabble.
What?
Under the table.
Who with?
The girl.
What girl? Not one of the waitresses.
No, the girl was sat next to us as part of this group of friends.
I thought you meant the poor blind waitress. It's like, what's that? I thought that's terrible. You can't take advantage like that. I thought that you can't do that. And she wouldn't know who it was. That's terrible. You can't do that.
Well, how did the girl who sat next to him know who it was?
What? Hang on.
Okay, I feel like I need to rewind. I'm trying to be subtle here because I don't want to have to talk about in the dark on our podcast, but you've made me say it now.
God, no. So, hang on. So, he was with a girl, or was it a stranger?
There was a group of like 6, 7 people, right? And they were all a group of friends, and I wasn't there. This is a sort of group of like my extended friends, and so not everyone knew each other that well. But these two
did after dinner.
Well, these two sort of knew each other a bit well, but like hadn't met that many
times.
And
he just started playing sooty.
The guy, in fact, I'm going to name him. The guy, I won't say his second name, but it is called. He was sort of like, he's a lovely lad, but like he wasn't somebody who's like, he wasn't kind of all lads. Yeah, I've got.
Yeah, when the lights are out.
Yeah, well,
dirty dick.
But this is what I mean. It was the least person you'd expect it from, and this beautiful girl, and you kind of the least person you'd expect it from with her as well.
They weren't his girlfriend.
No, they weren't together or anything.
And he just started playing sooty.
Yeah,
under the table. That's terrible.
Well, and consensually, I might add. Like she was like very up for the whole thing.
Wow.
Yeah.
But this...
I was like, I didn't know he had it in him. I didn't know she had it in her. Well,
she did. What was
that? Mate. So whenever I hear about this, these dining in the dark things when they turn the lights off, the whole thing is tainted for me. I'm like, I don't know what's going on in there.
I didn't order the
no. We're cutting that out. We're cutting that out. We're cutting it out. Sorry. We're not talking about in the dark. And is not in. We're cutting that out. Everyone look at me. That's gone.
Sorry. I've just thought.
You're a disgrace.
For the bloke and complained about me talking about my dad who passed away. That was for him.
So throw in again while we're at it.
No, you've just done it.
That was dessert.
That was, yeah. Oh, no. But yeah, so I don't know. I don't know whether I'd like it. See what made me think is when it's dark, I get mischievous. It's like when you...
Well, yes,
but
exactly
I'm
what
not saying it would get me knob out, but I'm just saying you think, well, no one can see me.
I'd be certainly playing tricks.
It's like being invisible, right?
Yeah.
Have you ever seen that film when he's invisible? Is it called The Invisible Man?
Yeah.
The clues in the title.
That film, it's about a man who's invisible. What's it called? Are you all right? Have you just had some food stuck in your eye?
There was two. They made another one more recent. This one was with Kevin Bacon in it, and there's a scene in it. I'll never forget it. It was. I think I watched it a few times. Just this scene, and he works out this medical way of making himself invisible, but when he becomes invisible, he becomes terrible because he doesn't have to look at himself in a mirror. Right, and there's this girl, the girl who was in The Karate Kid, the fit one. What's she called? She's in the Boys as well, and she's in Cocktail. Big boobs. You know who she is. She's done a lot of 80s films. Anyway, I can't remember her name, but you all know who she is. She's having a kid.
You were saying, Karate Kid, The Boys, 80s films, and I was just had a blank face, and then you were so sure that when you went big boobs, I'd be like, in
Cocktail, she gets her boobs out under the waterfall with Tom Cruise. All right, don't Google it. But listen, so she's on a chair like that, just resting, and all of a sudden her mouth opened, and he's putting his...
in The Boys.
Yeah, no, this is in The Invisible Man. He's putting his invisible cock in her mouth, and she's like, wait, so this, what? And she can't see nothing. See, now that's...
It's a risk, though, isn't it? What if she's surprised? What if she clamps down? What if she goes,
you're
in all sorts of trouble. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, man, that was like a long time ago. And I was just thinking, if you're invisible, I suppose it's the same as in the dark. In the dark, you think no one can see me. I can get away with stuff.
So I'm thinking, I'd be really naughty. I'd be like stealing people's cutlery, and they'd be wondering where it was. What are you thinking?
I'm just thinking I might just strip off. Imagine but you imagine. I just afterwards just go. By the way, I ate my whole dinner naked.
Yeah. What? I get back changed again.
Changed again.
And no one ever sees it, but you knew.
Exactly.
That's very you.
But I think they've got to have night vision cameras because
Got to.
Could you imagine they should release some of that footage because the people must be getting up to, especially your mate.
He has a very, very high-powered, responsible job.
Oh, was he?
Yeah. And that's as much as I can say.
Well, there's that restaurant. There's one other restaurant I wanted to mention while we're on the subject.
Right.
Is I went to Sublimotion. Right, I think it's the most expensive restaurant in the world.
To where?
Sublimotion, it's called. It's in Ibiza.
Sublimation.
Sublimotion. Sublimotion.
Sublimotion.
It's a proper experience.
Sublimation?
It's called Sublimotion.
I've never heard of it.
It's in Ibiza. My brother-in-law took me, and he's very, very well off, and he invited us over there for our anniversary. Sublimotion, right, in Ibiza. It's not the Ibiza where you go and get off your tits. Yeah. It's not that part. It's the other bit where the yachts are and all that. It's just unbelievable. And he'd hired this yacht.
Sublimotion, Mediterranean restaurant in Ibiza. There we go.
He'd hired this yacht for a week, so we go over there, and yachts are like $100,000 a week. You're stupid.
Yeah.
So we go over there, we're on this yacht, and then he says, we're going for this dinner. And there's a massive waiting list. I don't know how he got us in. Oh, my God. I mean, when I talk about... See how that place there is just food? It's not as expensive as that Salt Bay, but this, it's an experience from the moment you set off from your hotel. You get picked up. You go in, there's like a ticket thing that you can eat, and then there's like a...
You can eat the ticket?
Yeah.
All like
opens up, and then there's like... There's a drawer, and you go into this room, and then you stand on this podium, and then your name's all lit up, and then the room just seems to go like a big lift, so you start going down, down, down. But it's all projected, so you never move.
That's amazing.
And then when you sit down...
That's what I'm talking about, yeah.
The whole room...
It might be expensive, but you're paying for an experience.
Mate, I didn't pay for it, you did. It was brilliant.
It might be expensive, but someone else is paying for
it.
it.
Yeah, so brilliant.
Yeah.
I couldn't afford that.
You'd be like that. Can you take me to Salt Bay? I'm all for it.
So if it's like they bring out the seafood starter, right? The whole room, you're underwater. There's dolphins swimming past you and whale sounds. They spray the air with smelling
Salt
stuff.
Spray, yeah.
Oh,
so and this is all just projection?
All projection. But on the table, the whole table, there's a bit where you get food and it's like, you got steak and you got carrots and the whole table... grass and all that sort of coming up, and then the soil you get served. You can eat the soil and all that sort. It's just
that does actually sound amazing.
It's but one bit you get your food, you put on a VR mask, and you can see him making your food as you eat, and as you bring it to your mouth, it tells you all the ingredients of the food that's in it.
That's quite cool.
And then they come and wheel you around on your chair, and you're skydiving. And they're pushing you around. You don't know where you are. It's unbelievable.
All right. Sublimation.
Different level. I mean, it's stupid money. I couldn't have afforded to go, but my very kind brother-in-law and his wife, my wife's sister, she paid for us.
We're going to wrap up. We've got a couple of things to talk about. How are your eyes?
My mince pies?
Yeah.
My mince pies are all right. I've been... they've been getting better. They're the best they've been for a long time today because I started getting this scratchy thing in my eyes where I think...
That was a fork.
Yeah, that was because I was eating with my eyes.
I think that might be what it is.
But then I've changed the drops and I wasn't lubing my eyes up enough. So... yeah, lube up, people.
Mm-hmm. It's very important. Just remember, if there's one thing you take from this podcast, make sure you're well lubed.
Well lubed.
Yeah. I got one last thing to show you, which is, you know how we talked about how I was on the One Show on on Tuesday. Have you heard about? Apparently, I mean, it's not gone sort of like viral, but a few people have picked it up. Do you remember? I'm going to see if I can show you the clip. I'll tell you about it, and if I can show you the clip, if we can use it, because I don't know if we can license it, but I'll show you. Do you remember Dan Stevens, who used to be in Downton Abbey? Dan Stevens is an actor. I know him a little bit. I work with him. He's lovely, very funny, lovely guy. And he famously got the giggles, I think, on Good Morning Britain because...
she said, did you have to beat off a lot of Americans to get the part?
She said, I mean, you have an American accent in this show and you're doing a wonderful American accent. Was it difficult? Did you find that you had to get the part? Did you have to beat off a lot of American men? Right? and you could see Dan, he tries to hold it together.
She don't get it either.
And she's just going, compose yourself, Dan. Come on. She has no idea why he's laughing. Beat them off? She's like, so did you have to beat them off or not? And he's trying to answer, but he can't. Well, I had a similar moment on the One Show, and I guess I'll show you. And all I was thinking when it was happening was going, I'm having a Dan Stevens moment. And actually, what happened was she said to me,
Can you play the clip?
yeah, honestly, it was a tough one, and I'll show you. So
This is you on the One Show.
So this is the final question of the One Show. I've just done a whole interview, and then Lauren Laverne says, we've got one more question from a viewer. And what's really funny is the moment after she asks me this question, you can see that she sees I've gone, and she looks haunted because she's like, what did I just do?
Right, go.
So here we go.
Lovely. Ralf, loads of viewer questions coming in, so I want to shoot this one at you. Kieran asks, will Neville ever get his happy ending? Sorry, inhale.
Okay, I'll just mentally change gear. Yes. Well, I don't know. I didn't change gear fast enough. Neville, I think what you mean is, will he find some sort of love?
Will he find that's what it means? Yes.
Neville, we join Neville.
Neville.
I've absolutely gone.
Neville.
You've never heard me go,
I wish I was on that couch with you.
Well, Gaynor Faye was next to me. She was howling. She started laughing first.
And so he has to try.
So let's just, I'll finish my answer, listen to what Alex says just after.
Believe in love again, which is a very profound sort of journey for him, because when he first arrived on the island, he was too sort of nervous to try and live a full life, and he's sort of back in the same place again emotionally. So maybe Neville will get a happy ending.
Good save, Ralph.
Good, and I'm still laughing then.
The next series of Death in Paradise. So,
Neville happy
just
ending.
going for a massage.
Well, mate,
Neville?
here's the funny, because you know how mischievous we are. If there's something that we can say that we think is going to be funny, and I was just like, I was so close. The things that ran through my mind. I've just booked a holiday to Thailand. Like, I'm going in like a week on Monday.
Have you been before?
No, right. But all I was thinking,
they give you a reach around.
well, my point is, when she went, we'll never get his happy ending. I started laughing.
You probably will.
And I was going, don't say Thailand, don't say Thailand, don't say massage, don't say massage. And I'm trying to think of an answer to say. And I was like, you're on the One Show. You can't do this at 7 p.m. Every family's watching this. But
Well, you know, in Thailand, my mum's going to Thailand.
she?
Ralph. No,
But-
there's no jokes there for you. She's going to see the elephants. No more jokes. Leave it.
She is going to see the
Not going to stroke any trunks. There's no trunks being stroked. Stop it.
How well do you know me? That
I
you just
knew it
went,
was coming.
you went, my mum's going to Thailand, and then I went, and he went, nope.
No. She's going to see the elephants.
Yeah.
I've never been to Thailand, but I know people that have. And apparently, even if you just go for a normal massage, it's part of it to relax you. You just got to worry that while they're doing it, their cock and balls don't pop out and rub on your back.
No. Okay, we'll be cutting that one. We'll be cutting that. So it's part of the normal thing, right?
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what. I'll go to Thailand and I'll come back and I'll let you know.
You come back.
I'll let you know if Neville
You'll have a different look on your
I'll
face.
let you know if Neville got his happy ending.
Okay, let me know how Neville's happy ending goes in Thailand.
Right, that's it, I think, for this week.
We started off with mental health, and we ended up with happy endings.
Yeah.
There you go.
I mean, I feel like the two are very much linked.
Yeah.
Before we go, just a little shout out for the tour. Ticket sales are going really quite
They're
nicely.
going, but hey, listen, there's more tickets to be sold.
Yeah.
We're adding new dates. I think
Yeah.
Scarborough
and Scunthorpe, I think, have just been added, so that's fun.
and potentially we're looking at trying to come down south. So we're still looking at that.
Yeah. But we kick off in
listen,
Leeds on the
yeah.
4th of April. All dates, locations on the website, www.twopintspodcast.com. Grab your tickets. And they are selling. They're selling pretty fast. So please feel free to jump on there and get your tickets booked and come along. If you've booked your tickets for the tour, could you please go to our website and tell us your favourite bits and what you like and what you'd like to see? We're open to suggestions, and you never know, we might actually...
Yeah,
we
and
might
also,
see
listen,
it
remember,
on tour.
send us in your stories or any would you rathers or anything like that you want to tell us about, and you never know, we might bring it up on stage and talk about it, and we'll pick you out in the audience.
What if, I was about this for an idea, right?
What?
Me and you, we turn all the lights off so it's pitch black in the theatre.
You're not fingering me.
And me and you start eating dinner. Me and you start eating dinner. But there's a night vision camera and we see what mischief we get up to.
No, I've seen your fingers.
And
Don't ever do that again.
and
That face was awful.
As we've said...
Nightmare Before Christmas.
As we've said on this show already today, if you take one thing away from this podcast, lean Bob.
Ralph, don't ever do that again.
Cut that.
Don't cut that. Leave it in. Leave it in. Play that to your kids before bedtime. It's frightening.
They won't sleep.
They won't sleep. Listen,
Right.
I'll see you on the other side.
Yeah, well, I hope we get another one in before Thailand, but if not, I'll see your mum out there.
Oi! I told you. Leave your mother out of it.